What if I told you that on a quiet Thursday morning in September 1977, while most people were sipping coffee and reading newspapers, humanity accidentally discovered the cure for ego? Not in a laboratory, not in a philosophy book, but in the cold vacuum of space, through the lens of a camera pointed backward at the only home we've ever known. This wasn't just another space mission launching into the darkness. This was the moment our species finally learned to see itself clearly, and the revelation would shatter every assumption we had about our place in the cosmic order. Picture yourself standing in front of the largest mirror you've ever encountered, so vast that you can't see the edges, and suddenly realizing that what you thought was your reflection is actually just a microscopic detail in an infinite tapestry. This is what happened to us as a civilization when we first glimpsed our planet not from the comfortable familiarity of our atmosphere, but from the honest brutality of deep space. The Voyager program wasn't just about exploring distant worlds. It was about forcing ourselves to confront the most humbling truth in human history. We are smaller than we ever dared to imagine, and that smallness is exactly what makes us extraordinary. Carl Sagan understood something that eluded most of his generation. He realized that science wasn't merely a tool for accumulating facts about the physical world. It was a pathway to spiritual awakening, a method for experiencing genuine awe, a practice that could transform how we understand our relationship with existence itself. When he studied the movement of planets, he wasn't just tracking celestial mechanics. He was learning the fundamental rhythms that govern his own heartbeat. When he calculated the age of stars, he was discovering the timeline of the very atoms that composed his thoughts, his dreams, his capacity for wonder. The profound realization begins not with rockets or equations, but with a question that has haunted our species since consciousness first flickered in human minds. What does it mean to be significant in an universe that appears indifferent to our existence? But Sagan revolutionized this inquiry by turning it inside out. The real question wasn't whether we mattered in some cosmic sense. It was whether we understood how intimately connected we are to everything that exists. Every calcium atom strengthening your skeleton right now was birthed in the nuclear furnace of a dying star. The oxygen flowing through your lungs was expelled by stellar giants in their final moments of cosmic drama. You are not an observer of the universe. You are the universe observing itself through temporarily organized matter. This understanding demolishes the artificial boundaries we've constructed between ourselves and the cosmos. When you truly comprehend that the iron enabling your blood to carry oxygen originated in stellar explosions that occurred eons before Earth existed, when you grasp that your capacity for love and wonder emerged from the same fundamental forces that sculpt galaxies and ignite nebulae, when you recognize that every thought you think involves matter that has been recycling through cosmic processes for billions of years, how can you ever feel isolated from the grand story that surrounds and includes you? This perspective revolutionizes everything. It transforms how we perceive human conflicts as temporary disagreements among beings who share identical stellar ancestry. It changes how we view cultural differences as surface variations among creatures built from the same cosmic materials. It alters how we understand life itself, not as a random accident in a meaningless void, but as the most sophisticated expression of matter and energy that we know exists anywhere in the observable universe. Sagan lived during humanity's first glimpse of itself from the outside. The space age represented more than technological achievement. It offered us perspective on who we are and how we fit into the larger story. For the first time in human existence, we could step beyond our planetary boundaries and look back with fresh eyes at the world that created us. What we discovered changed the trajectory of human consciousness forever. From the vantage point of space, national borders disappear completely. From that distance, racial distinctions become meaningless abstractions. From space, the conflicts that dominate our news cycles reveal themselves as what they truly are: the growing pains of a young species still learning how to coexist peacefully on a small world circling an unremarkable star in an ordinary galaxy among countless others. The cosmic perspective doesn't minimize human concerns. It clarifies which concerns deserve our attention and which are simply the temporary struggles of a civilization still discovering how to be wise. This is why Sagan's message resonates more powerfully today than when he first articulated it. We inhabit an era where our technologies have outpaced our wisdom, where we possess the capability to destroy ourselves while still struggling to treat each other with the basic kindness that our shared cosmic heritage demands. We have achieved godlike powers in our technological capabilities while remaining children in our cosmic understanding. The pale blue dot that Voyager photographed represented far more than documentation of Earth's appearance. It functioned as a mirror, reflecting our true nature back to us with startling clarity. We are not conquerors standing apart from nature. We are nature's method of understanding itself. We are not external observers of the cosmic story. We are the cosmos awakening to its own magnificence and mystery. We are not isolated beings in an empty universe. We are the universe becoming conscious, becoming curious, becoming capable of love and wonder, and the profound joy that emerges from finally recognizing our authentic place in the magnificent story that continues unfolding around us. Tonight, when darkness falls and you look upward at the stars, remember that you are not merely observing distant lights. You are participating in an ancient reunion. Those points of light are not foreign objects. They are your ancestors, the stellar nurseries where every element in your body was born. The space between them is not empty void. It's the fertile darkness from which consciousness emerged, the creative emptiness that gave birth to everything you are and everything you have the potential to become. Carl Sagan revealed to us that science and spirituality are not opposing forces locked in eternal conflict. They are complementary expressions of humanity's deepest longing to understand our place in existence. When we peer through electron microscopes at the intricate choreography of cellular life, when we aim radio telescopes toward distant galaxies, searching for whispers of other minds, when we study the elegant mathematics that governs everything from quantum interactions to galactic rotations, we are engaging in the most profound form of spiritual practice our species has ever developed. We are learning to read the sacred text written in the fundamental language of reality itself. Consider the magnificent narrative that scientific discovery reveals about our origins. 13.7 billion years ago, everything that would ever exist, every particle that would eventually become your thoughts, every bit of matter that would one day form mountains or music or moments of laughter shared between friends, was compressed into a space smaller than the period concluding this sentence. Then, in an explosion of creative force beyond human imagination, space and time themselves burst into existence, initiating a cosmic evolution that would eventually produce stars, planets, life, consciousness, and the capacity for wonder itself. This is not a cold mechanistic account. This is the greatest love story ever told. The universe, through billions of years of patient evolution, transformed simple hydrogen and helium into complex elements into molecules, molecules into the first primitive life forms, and eventually, through the gradual magic of natural selection and cosmic time, into beings capable of contemplating their own existence. You are not an accident in an indifferent cosmos. You are the universe's greatest known achievement. Matter organized so exquisitely that it can appreciate beauty, create meaning, and experience the very wonder that brings you to these words. When Sagan spoke about humans being composed of star stuff, he wasn't offering poetic metaphor. He was revealing literal truth that connects you to every other living creature on Earth and to the most distant objects our telescopes can detect. The carbon forming your DNA's backbone, the nitrogen building your proteins, the phosphorus strengthening your bones, all of it was manufactured in the cores of ancient stars that lived, burned brilliantly, and died long before our sun ignited. You carry within your physical structure the ashes of cosmic giants, the remnants of stellar furnaces that once illuminated entire regions of space with their nuclear fire. But here's what makes this knowledge truly transformative. Understanding our cosmic heritage doesn't diminish the sacred. It reveals that everything is sacred. When you encounter another person and truly understand that they are constructed from the same stellar materials as you, organized by identical fundamental forces, animated by the same cosmic energy that powers the sun itself, how can you not experience profound kinship? When you observe a tree and recognize that its carbon originated in the same stellar forges as yours, that its growth is powered by nuclear fusion occurring 93 million miles away, that it participates in the same cosmic dance of matter and energy that birthed galaxies, how can you not feel reverence? The sacred is not separate from the natural world. The natural world is sacred. Every atom of it, every quantum interaction, every moment of the ongoing cosmic evolution that continues in your very cells as you process these words. Science doesn't destroy the mystery of existence. It reveals that existence itself is far more mysterious and wonderful than our ancestors ever imagined. We inhabit a universe where matter can organize itself into patterns complex enough to contemplate infinity, where consciousness can emerge from chemistry, where love can arise from the same forces that bind atomic nuclei together. This is why opposing science in the name of spirituality resembles trying to destroy poetry in the name of beauty. Science is our species' most successful method for discovering truth, and truth, whatever it reveals about the nature of reality, is always more beautiful and more worthy of reverence than the comfortable illusions we might prefer. When we choose scientific thinking, we choose to see the universe as it actually is rather than as we wish it were, and what it actually is turns out to be far more magnificent than anything we could have invented. Sagan taught us that the choice is not between science and spirituality, but between honest wonder and comfortable delusion. The cosmos revealed by science is not cold and meaningless. It is warm with the light of trillions of stars, meaningful with the complexity that led to consciousness, beautiful with the mathematical elegance that governs everything from electron orbits to spiral galaxy arms. When we choose to see clearly, when we commit ourselves to following evidence wherever it leads, when we embrace the radical humility that comes from recognizing how much we still don't understand, we are practicing the deepest form of spiritual discipline. The universe doesn't require our belief to function magnificently. It doesn't need our approval to be beautiful. It doesn't depend on our understanding to be meaningful. But when we align our limited human perspective with the vast reality that contains us, when we allow ourselves to be transformed by what we discover rather than forcing reality to conform to our preconceptions, extraordinary things happen. We don't just learn facts about the world. We discover our place in the world. We don't just accumulate information, we participate in the universe's ongoing project of understanding itself. If these ideas are stirring something deep in your chest, if you feel that same sense of wonder that Carl Sagan experienced when he first understood our true place in the cosmos, then you're discovering what it means to be fully human. There's a growing community of people who understand that science and spirituality are not enemies but partners in the greatest adventure our species has ever undertaken. The quest to understand who we are and how we fit into the magnificent story that continues, unfolding all around us. Consider joining us by subscribing to this channel, not just to receive notifications about new content, but as a way of saying yes to curiosity, yes to wonder, yes to the ongoing project of seeing reality clearly. And share with us in the comments, what's one scientific discovery that changed how you see yourself? What aspect of the cosmos fills you with the deepest sense of awe? Your perspective matters because you matter. You are part of this cosmic story, and your wonder and questions help drive human understanding forward into new realms of discovery and meaning. Carl Sagan embodied a beautiful paradox that few people truly understand. He was simultaneously the most skeptical and the most wonder-filled person of his era. He questioned everything, from UFO sightings to claims about psychic phenomena to the fundamental assumptions underlying his own scientific theories. Yet his capacity for awe and reverence grew stronger with each answered question, each solved mystery, each new understanding of how reality actually operates. This wasn't a contradiction, it was the essence of what he called the delicate balance between skepticism and wonder. Most people believe that questioning destroys magic, that understanding something scientifically somehow makes it less beautiful or meaningful, that doubt is the enemy of faith. Sagan demonstrated that exactly the opposite is true. The more deeply we understand the natural world, the more reasons we discover for wonder. The more rigorously we question our assumptions, the more solid becomes our foundation for genuine knowledge. The more honestly we acknowledge what we don't know, the more meaningful become the things we do know. This is what Sagan meant by compassionate skepticism, the ability to question ideas without attacking the people who hold them, to demand evidence without becoming cynical, to maintain intellectual rigor without losing emotional warmth. It's the difference between the scientist who says, "I don't think that's supported by evidence and here's why," and the cynic who says, "Nothing is true and nothing matters." It's the difference between healthy doubt that opens new possibilities and toxic doubt that shuts down curiosity entirely. Consider how this approach played out in Sagan's own work. When people claimed to have been visited by extraterrestrial beings, Sagan didn't mock them or dismiss them as delusional. Instead, he asked, what would constitute convincing evidence for such extraordinary claims? What alternative explanations might account for these experiences? How can we design tests to distinguish between different possibilities? This approach led not to cynicism about the possibility of extraterrestrial life, but to more sophisticated and ultimately more promising ways of searching for it. The same rigorous thinking that made him skeptical of UFO stories made him passionate about the scientific search for extraterrestrial intelligence. This is the kind of thinking our world desperately needs right now. We live in an era where information travels faster than wisdom, where anyone with internet access can broadcast opinions to millions of people, where the distinction between expertise and ideology has been deliberately blurred by those who profit from confusion. In such a world, the ability to think scientifically, to distinguish between what we know and what we believe, between what evidence supports and what we wish were true, becomes not just intellectually valuable, but morally essential. Scientific thinking is not about memorizing facts or accepting everything that people in laboratory coats tell you. Scientific thinking is a method, a discipline, a way of approaching any question with the tools of logic, evidence, and intellectual honesty. It's the commitment to changing your mind when new evidence emerges, even when changing your mind is uncomfortable. It's the courage to say, I don't know when you don't know, rather than inventing explanations that sound satisfying but don't match reality. This kind of thinking requires both intellectual courage and emotional maturity. It takes courage to question ideas that are popular, profitable, or psychologically comforting. It takes courage to admit that some of your most cherished beliefs might be incorrect. It takes courage to follow evidence, even when it leads to conclusions that challenge your worldview, your identity, or your sense of how things should be. But it also takes emotional maturity to question ideas without becoming arrogant, to correct errors without humiliating people, to maintain wonder even as you develop tools to distinguish between genuine mystery and simple ignorance. Sagan possessed this rare combination of intellectual fearlessness and emotional wisdom. He could debunk pseudoscience while maintaining deep respect for the human need for meaning and connection. He could advocate for rigorous thinking while never losing sight of why thinking matters in the first place. The key insight that Sagan offered is that skepticism and wonder are not opposites. They are partners. The person who questions everything out of cynicism will find nothing worth believing in. The person who questions nothing out of credulity will believe everything, which amounts to the same thing. But the person who questions with the goal of understanding, who doubts in service of deeper truth, who maintains skepticism as a tool rather than an ideology, this person will discover that reality is far stranger and more wonderful than any fiction. When you approach the world with genuine scientific curiosity, every answered question opens up dozens of new questions. When you understand how photosynthesis works, the fact that plants are literally eating sunlight becomes more magical, not less. When you learn about the quantum mechanics underlying chemical bonds, the idea that matter can organize itself into patterns complex enough to contemplate the universe becomes more miraculous, not less. When you study the evolutionary history that led to consciousness, the fact that the cosmos can become aware of itself through beings like us becomes more profound, not less. This is why Sagan spent so much of his career fighting against what he called the demon-haunted world. Not because he wanted to eliminate mystery from human life, but because he wanted to eliminate false mysteries so we could focus our sense of wonder on real ones. The universe revealed by science is mysterious enough to satisfy any human hunger for the unknown. We don't need to invent alien visitations when the real search for extraterrestrial life is so much more fascinating. We don't need to believe in supernatural powers when the actual capabilities of the human brain are so much more impressive. We don't need magical thinking when reality itself is more magical than anything we could fabricate. The goal is not to become a cold, calculating skeptic who finds no room for wonder in the world. The goal is to become the kind of person Sagan was, someone whose capacity for awe grows stronger with each new understanding, whose sense of mystery deepens with each answered question, whose love for truth leads not to cynicism, but to an ever-expanding appreciation for the magnificent complexity and beauty of the cosmos we actually inhabit. On August 20th, 1977, while most of the world continued their daily routines, something unprecedented departed our planet. Voyager 2 began a journey that would take it farther from home than any human artifact had ever traveled, carrying with it a golden record containing the sounds and images of Earth. Music from Beethoven and Louis Armstrong, greetings in 60 languages, the cry of a newborn child, the sound of ocean waves, and a message from then-President Jimmy Carter that began, "This is a present from a small, distant world." What Carter couldn't have foreseen as he recorded those words was that this small, distant world was about to achieve something extraordinary, the ability to see itself clearly for the first time, and that this vision would transform how we understand our obligations to each other and to the only home we've ever known. Carl Sagan understood that cosmic perspective inevitably leads to cosmic responsibility. When you truly grasp that Earth is a tiny sanctuary of life in an immense wilderness of space, when you understand that every living creature you've ever encountered exists on a world that could fit comfortably within the gap between Saturn's rings, when you realize that our entire planetary biosphere occupies a zone so thin that if Earth were the size of an apple, all of life would exist in the skin, you begin to understand that we are not the proprietors of this world, but its temporary stewards. The famous photograph that Voyager 1 captured from 4 billion miles away shows our planet as what Sagan called a pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam, nearly invisible against the cosmic darkness. From that distance, all of human history, every war ever fought, every civilization ever built, every love story ever lived, every scientific discovery ever made, occupies a space smaller than a pixel on your computer screen. This perspective doesn't diminish the importance of human life. It reveals that human life is precious, precisely because it is rare, fragile, and as far as we know, unique in our cosmic neighborhood. This understanding transforms how we perceive our planetary challenges. Climate change is not merely an environmental issue, it's a cosmic issue. We represent the only known location in the universe where matter has evolved to the point of being able to understand its own origins and contemplate its own future. To damage the delicate atmospheric chemistry that makes this consciousness possible, to destabilize the climate systems that sustain the biosphere that gave birth to minds capable of wondering about their place in the cosmos, this would be not just a tragedy, but a cosmic crime. The universe losing its capacity to know itself through us. The same cosmic perspective that reveals our insignificance in space reveals our enormous significance in time. We may be tiny compared to galaxies, but we represent something unprecedented in the 13.7 billion-year history of the universe. Matter organized in such a way that it can appreciate beauty, understand mathematics, feel compassion, and make ethical choices. We are the cosmos becoming conscious, moral, and capable of taking responsibility for its own future evolution. Sagan saw that our technologies have made us a planetary species, whether we're prepared for that responsibility or not. Nuclear weapons gave us the power to end human civilization in an afternoon. Industrial processes and fossil fuel consumption gave us the ability to alter atmospheric chemistry and global climate. Genetic engineering is giving us the power to direct the future course of evolution itself. We have become, in Sagan's words, like gods in our technological capabilities, but we still think and act like the tribal primates we were just moments ago in evolutionary time. This is why scientific thinking is not just intellectually valuable, but morally essential for our survival as a species. The challenges facing humanity in the 21st century, from climate disruption to nuclear proliferation to artificial intelligence to biotechnology, cannot be solved by tribal thinking, wishful thinking, or magical thinking. They require the kind of clear-eyed, evidence-based reasoning that science has taught us to value. They require the humility to acknowledge when we don't know something, and the courage to act on the best available evidence, even when the solutions are difficult or expensive. But scientific thinking alone is insufficient. We also need what Sagan called cosmic compassion, the emotional wisdom that comes from understanding our shared origin in stellar nucleosynthesis, our common evolutionary heritage, our mutual dependence on the same fragile biosphere. When you truly understand that the carbon in your DNA and the carbon in a redwood tree and the carbon in someone whose politics you despise all originated in the same stellar forge, when you recognize that we are all temporary arrangements of cosmic material temporarily animated by solar energy, when you see that our differences are as superficial as the patterns that waves make on the surface of the same ocean, compassion becomes not just morally admirable, but scientifically accurate. This is the vision that Sagan offered, a species mature enough to take responsibility for its own future, and wise enough to make decisions based on evidence rather than ideology, on long-term thinking rather than short-term profit, on cosmic perspective rather than tribal prejudice. He saw that we are at a crucial moment in cosmic history, where our technological power has outpaced our wisdom, where we have gained the ability to destroy ourselves before we've gained the wisdom to ensure our own survival and flourishing. The question is not whether we are alone in the universe. The question is whether we will grow up quickly enough to survive our own adolescence as a technological civilization. The answer depends on whether we can learn to think like citizens of the cosmos rather than members of competing tribes, whether we can learn to make decisions that honor our cosmic heritage and our responsibilities to future generations who will inherit the consequences of our choices. We are the first generation in human history to know our true address in the cosmos and to understand our actual situation. Temporary residents of a small world orbiting an ordinary star in an unremarkable galaxy, but also the only known location where the universe has become conscious of itself and capable of understanding its own beauty and meaning. We are simultaneously cosmically insignificant and cosmically precious, tiny in space but enormous in responsibility, brief in duration but potentially crucial to the future of consciousness in the cosmos. If this vision of cosmic responsibility speaks to you, if you feel called to be part of a species worthy of its cosmic inheritance, then we invite you to join this growing community of people who understand that science and spirituality are not enemies but partners in the great work of becoming fully human. Subscribe not just to this channel but to the idea that we can do better, that we can think more clearly, that we can treat each other and our planet with the respect that our cosmic story demands. Tell us in the comments what you're willing to do to help our species mature, what changes you're making in your own life to live with cosmic perspective, and what topics you'd like us to explore in future videos. Because ultimately we're all in this together, fellow travelers on a small world spinning through space, sharing the same cosmic heritage, facing the same cosmic future, and carrying the same cosmic responsibility to ensure that consciousness, compassion, and wonder continue to flourish in our corner of the universe.